Hello, brothers and sisters. The title of the message today is Returning to the Source of Life. Book 3, The Abundance of Life, number 13, A Grain of Wheat, number 1. John 12:24 is a famous verse. Greek people wanted to meet Jesus, and Jesus met them and said, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed, but if it dies, it produces many seeds. Greek people have an attribute that they always try to objectify everything with theory. To those Greek people, Jesus said, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed, but if it dies, it produces many seeds. With one word, he meant life is different from your theory. A kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies and bears many seeds. You cannot objectify or make a theory. We also face the same reality. People all try to get the objectified knowledges. If Jesus says something, they try to objectify those words. Greek people try to objectify even God himself. They make hypotheses of absolute being without character, the Logos, and they insist that there is no other God. And Apostle John made good use of that Logos, and he said, Word became flesh. He pulled that non-character being into the world of character. Those Greek people visited Jesus and he talked about the life. If you sow seed, the sprout will come out and the trees will bear fruit. Christianity was started from Jewish religion and entered into the Greek world. He started our faith under Christianity, which entered into the Greek world. Therefore, Jesus, who we believe is Jesus who entered into the Greek world. As Greek was such a large country and the territory was so vast, apostles needed something that they could communicate with them and save their soul. That's why they pulled Logos into the gospel. It seems that the apostles tried so hard to Christianize Greece. But in reality, they could not transform Greece. Quite opposite thing happened. Christianity became transformed into Greek way. They tried to fill up Greece with Jesus Christ, but Jesus Christ was transformed into Greek Jesus Christ. Theories are so fearful, and culture is such a fearful thing. In Korea in 1970s, there was a movement that Christian people tried to change Korean society. They said, why should we force people to offer worship service in the church building? We can offer worship service in any place on the spot. The term naturalization and secularization was used so much. When people went to beach for vacation, we should not stop them going to beach. They spread gospel on the beach, putting on bikini and sang hymns, playing the guitar. And when people went hiking, they also went hiking together and spread it gospel. Moreover, if people would go to a drinking place, they would go to that drinking place and spread gospel. If people would go to the coffee shop, they would go to that coffee shop and spread gospel. They even went to the prostitute house to spread gospel. They insisted we have to spread gospel to the world. We should not say to them to come to church. But soon their plans ended up in failure. It is almost impossible to change the world. But we have to save some people there and let them come out from that world. That is the right thing. In Buddhism case, as they entered into the new culture region, they become assimilated. They learned something new, and added up to their Buddhism. Buddha came out from Hinduism and made Buddhism. And as that Buddhism entered into China, mixed up with Taoism, and became Zen Buddhism. They came into Korea, they became Joge sect. And as they entered into Japan, mixed up with the Shinto, they made the unique Japanese-style Buddhism. But Christianity's case, wherever they may go, they try to plant Christian culture as it is. Because of that reason, they received so much persecution and pain. Referring to Roman Catholic Church, as they enter into Korea, they received enormous persecution for 100 years. Actually, it is cultural conflict, but they thought it is the religious battle. So many people died the death of martyrdom. In Daegu City, they're a Roman Catholic hiding place, and they became Roman Catholic cultural resort. In Seoul, there is a cathedral which commemorates the death of martyrs. It was the place where Roman Catholic people were beheaded there. The persecution that Korean Roman Catholic believers received for 100 years was enormous. The main reason was because of Korean ritual service that we have to offer to our ancestors. Korean people think our ancestors are so important, but they neglected ancestors. That's why they persecuted Roman Catholic Church. As they try to plant Christian culture as it is, they received enormous persecution. We cannot say it was just because of Jesus. Those martyrs would say we were killed just because of Jesus, but the fundamental problem is the collision of two different cultures. What kind of culture Christian people may enter, they were not afraid to start the war. Apostles tried so hard to save Greek people as they enter into the Greek world. It is clearly depicted in the Bible, but as the era apostles were passed by, Christianity was so much influenced by Greek culture. Christianity became objectified, doctrinated, and institutionalized. As a result, the Roman Catholic and Protestant Church came out. We came out from those churches, so we cannot neglect them entirely, but we have to concentrate and we have to search out our original root. Jesus said to Greek people, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed, but if it dies, it produces many seeds. As Christianity entered into the Greek area, they had to fight against Greek people, and as they enter into the Oriental area, they had to fight against Oriental culture, and in the meanwhile, their population grew up so big, but the more fundamental war was the war against Satan. The cross of Jesus was not the war against Greece, nor the war against Lee dynasty of Korea. It was a war against Satan. Redemption of Jesus did not save us from those cultural areas, but from the hand of Satan. The ministry of Jesus is this. The duty of Jesus is not to save Western people, nor Jewish people, but all mankind who are enslaved by Satan. The original meaning of Jesus himself is the one who will save his people from their sin. The meaning of saving his people from their sin, it means Jesus had to start to save his people from the redemption. Now the reason why we are talking about the cross of Jesus is, the reason why we are talking about Jesus who cannot come down from the cross and die is, even people mocked at him, is not because of Greek people nor because of Oriental people, but it is a war against Satan. When Satan deceived people, he did not come as Greek or Orient, but he deceived, if you eat of it, you will become like God. You will become like God means various things, but it means you will become a very strong being. Satan told Adam, you are a really limited being and weak being. But if you eat of it, you will become a very strong being. If we look at the history of Adam, we can learn that Adam had two sons. One is Cain and another is Abel. Two sons came to visit God, and there was a fighting, and Cain killed Abel with a rock. Strong being defeated weak being, and weak being was crying with lamentation. In the book of Revelation, Abel is protesting against God under the altar. God, why did you make me so weak? As you made me so weak, I was killed. He was protesting against God. In Genesis chapter 4, there is the genealogy of longevity group people. All people hope and wish to enjoy longevity. 700 years old people, 800 years old people, and even 900 years old people came out for 10 generations. That kind of people came out for 10 generations means they were almost perfect. After that kind of people came out, Nephilim came out. They were the heroes of old men of renown. The result of eating the fruit of good and evil, such things happened. People became larger and stronger. The history of mankind is as such. The competition of getting bigger and stronger. United States was the largest and strongest nation. Now China is trying to catch up. China is the headache of the United States. Other countries obey to the United States whatever they had ordered. There is continuous competition of how can we become stronger? Who will be the strongest? Japan was the second most powerful country in G7, but now China is the second and Japan is the third. Even though Japan have a lot of money, how can they defeat 1.5 billion population of China? India has 1.3 billion population right after China. They will try to catch up also. Then Japan will become fourth place next to India. Bible is the present story. Bible's story is not the old mythology, but the present story. From Cain to longevity group people, and then they go to Nephilim. Thus, God regretted about his creating people. Using tempest and flood, God swept Nephilims. We don't know from which area did the mankind come out again. They gathered at the Shinar plain and said, not to be scattered over the face of the whole earth. Why did they say that? Because they wanted to become strong. If they stay alone, they will become so weak. That's why they said, let's try not to be scattered. And they said, let us make a city with a tower. They wanted to protect themselves. They did not have any enemies, but they said, let us build a castle. Let us build a tall tower so that we can reach to the heaven and make our names become glorious. This is the world. Just drinking liquor and smoking, this is not the character of the world. But the world is saying, let's go to Babel. The consequence of eating the fruit of good and evil is the Babel. It is not the matter of people became good or evil, but the issue whether they become strong or weak. God called Abraham out of that place. God called one man from the place where there is competition of strong and weak and opened a different kind of world. That path is leading people to Jesus, not the path which our ancestor Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob walked, but it is totally from God, 100%. It is entirely different path that people made or all went to the Tower of Babel. Suppose God did not call out Abraham from there. He could have gone that old path also. It was true with Isaac and Jacob too. Even though Abraham tried everything using his own power, he just had Ishmael. That was all. His life ended up in failure as he became 100 years old. He could not have any children. But then God gave him Isaac. Who could say that? Abraham had his son. Maybe Abraham did not think he had his own son Isaac. What's interesting is when God told him to send Ishmael out, he was so much worried. But when God told to offer Isaac on Mount Moriah, he did not become troubled at all. In the Bible, there is a description about the deep troubled mind of Abraham, not just one night, but for quite a long time. But when God told him to bring Isaac to Mount Moriah, he was not agonized at all. Suppose he was agonized, would he left home early in the morning? When the death row convict is moved to the death house, his steps are so heavy as if both feet are tied with a heavy steel. Prison guards take the death row convict to the death house on the very day the convict tried to step as slow as possible. But Abraham got up so early in the morning, he put the saddle on the back of his mule, took two of his servants and his son Isaac, started toward Mount Moriah. As they arrived at the mountain, Isaac asked, "Father, there is fire and wood, but where's the little lamb for sacrificial offering?" Abraham said, "My son, God will prepare the little lamb for sacrificial burnt offering for himself." Why did he say that? For Abraham, Isaac was not his own son. Therefore, this path was so different and unique one. But then he received the new Isaac. He was able to come down the mountain. Even Isaac was born from his wife. Abraham did not think Isaac was his own son. But again, he received new Isaac as he got resurrected. Isaac got resurrected from the death. He was not Abraham's son, but he was a heavenly given son. This path was such kind of path. The ancestor of Israel is not Abraham, but Isaac. This man will not be your own heir, but a son coming from your own body would be your heir. Well, outwardly, Abraham seems to be the ancestor of Israel, but actually Isaac is the real ancestor of Israel. I met one Iranian and asked him, "Do you know Isaac?" But he said no. But when I asked him whether he knew Abraham, he said he knew. Our ancestors are Abraham and Isaac, but their ancestors are Abraham and Ishmael. Thus, Abraham is not the real ancestor of Israel. He produced ancestor of Israel. I did not know the fact that Iranians don't know about Isaac and Jacob, and they don't have them in their history. We don't know about Ishmael. It's the same. There is one Iranian in our church, and he said Jehovah and Allah are the same. I asked him, "Wouldn't it be a problem for you to come to our church?" He answered, "It doesn't matter." He again said, "Jehovah and Allah are the same." Thank you. Hallelujah. May God bless every one of you. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you.